as much as I've got feelings about Marjorie Taylor Greene and all kinds of other developments, the most important thing right now is that our friend of the Center for Political Innovation, he's spoken at CPI stuff in the past, and he's running for Congress in New York City in the Bronx for the 15th congressional district in the Bronx. He came out with a quite shocking bit of news yesterday. That's Jose Vega, and Jose is a legend in so many ways. Jose has, he's known for his disruptions, and he is an anti-imperialist. He stands with Russia. He stands with China. He's running for Congress against Richie Torres, who's a mainstream Democrat. And he came out with this horrifying news yesterday, which, I think this is just how we have to start out here.
Stepdad was illegally abducted by ICE just an hour ago with no due process whatsoever, is being held in Newark, New Jersey. I was on my way to film a video about the Cross Bronx Expressway and give my thoughts on the Trump-Mamdani meeting. And I got a frantic call from my mom. She was in tears, telling me that they had just taken my stepdad, and apparently they have a lawyer. We'll see what happens. This is still a developing, ongoing situation. The main point I want to drive home to all of you is that if they can do this to me, a congressional candidate running in one of the most high-profile congressional races in the entire country, what can they do to you? Why are they doing this to me? Could this have just been, indiscriminate? They just saw, some man looks Hispanic and Spanish and, doesn't speak much English and thought, yep, this guy's definitely an immigrant. Were they targeting me? Were they going after me because I'm challenging power? These are interesting questions that I don't know the answer to, but I'm posing them to you. Is my run here in the Bronx against Richie Torres and now Michael Fake such a threat to the Democratic establishment that has been working with the worst elements of the Trump administration to keep ICE going? That's a question for all of you to figure out.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it is very, very possible that they did target Jose. That this is not just random. We do know that there has been an issue with ICE randomly picking people up off the street, holding them without charges, without due process. That's an ongoing issue. But in this case, it very well could be targeted. And that may sound, like on the surface, that's not likely. But honestly, I think it is possible. And I'll tell you why, which is that the Center for Political Innovation, I know a lot of people, right? I've been in New York City for a long time. I was part of Occupy Wall Street, and I've campaigned. I campaigned for Charles Barron, the member of Congress, when he ran for Congress. He's now in the New York State General Assembly. He was in the New York City Council. In fact, I can even show you Charles Barron, just a great anti-imperialist. I did have the honor of appearing, with him to support the Uhuru movement recently. But, years ago, when Charles Barron was just a New York city council member before he went on to the New York State General Assembly, I was in the Workers' World Party, and we gave him our endorsement because he was a personal friend of Gaddafi. He was a personal friend of Robert Mugabe. He was an anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, former Black Panther, and we campaigned for him. And I've known other people, right, that have run for city council, people in the Democratic Party locally and all of that. And there was one woman, won't name names. There's somebody that is, I would call a friend of CPI, that is a candidate. She's run for city council and stuff like that. She hasn't won yet. One of these days she will. That's why I'm not naming her, because if I did, then they would use that against her. But she's somebody, and I remember she told me, like, at one point she ran a Green Party campaign in New York City, had no chance whatsoever of winning. I mean, she got like 10% of the vote. I mean, she had no chance. And she ran a Green Party campaign. And she told me that they sent private investigators to her apartment building, and she was shocked at how, as a Green Party candidate who only got like 10% of the vote, running for a low level seat, New York City Council, that's not, it's not the presidency, it's not the US Senate. And she was running as a third party candidate who had barely any chance. I mean, she was lucky to get 10% of the vote, but she said she was shocked at how the local Democrat that she was running against spent loads of money to oust her, loads of money to dig into her personal life and talk to her neighbors. And just, it was like this Democrat was really, really scared that something could happen and they would possibly lose. And that's what she shared with us. And that made me realize that, getting involved in local politics is messy. There's another person who was friendly to CPI. She was a candidate. She wasn't even running for office. She was a Bernie delegate during the Bernie Sanders election, I think in 2016. And she was a Bernie delegate. And people started posting all over Twitter that she had AIDS. Right. And it was like all these Twitter accounts blew up saying she had AIDS. She's got AIDS. She's got AIDS. And it was like crazy. But it was because she was opposing the Democratic Party machine of New York City, which is particularly ruthless. And so the idea that Jose Vega is running for the 15th congressional district in the Bronx against a machine Democrat, a corrupt Zionist machine Democrat named Richie Torres. He's making Richie Torres' support for Israel a central plank of his campaign. The idea that Jose Vega, they might call ICE to go after his family, I think that's completely plausible, especially given the timing, because of the fact that an anti-Israel Democrat just got elected mayor of New York City, right? And that, the regular machine Democrat, Andrew Cuomo, got his ass handed to him by Mamdani. And so Jose is also running as a Democrat against the regular machine Democrat, making a big deal about the fact that he opposes Israel, about the fact that Richie Torres is a shill for Israel. I think the idea that Richie Torres might call up Trump and say, "Do you want another far left guy in there? This guy Jose who's running against me. He's anti-Israel. He's and that he might call up the hard right pro-Israeli people and say, look, it's either going to be me or this Jose guy." I think there's a good chance that might have actually been the case. I mean, I'm not saying it necessarily is, and I don't know the legal details of any of this, but looking at this from a purely outsider view, I have not talked to Jose about this. We did put an article on our website highlighting this incident as soon as we heard about it. Shout out to Kate. She's the one who brought it to our attention first. And, we saw that Due Dissidence, which is a good friend of ours, is covering this and all of that. And, as soon as we heard about this, we decided to publicly support Jose. He did tweet a thank you to us, and we appreciate that. But we're not in communication with him. I'm purely speculating. I know nothing about his family's situation or anything. I just know what I'm seeing here. And I think the idea that this was a targeted political move by the corrupt Democrat Party machine of New York City against Jose, given the fact that Mamdani just won, given how defensive these Democrats are of their jobs, they are really terrified of ever, losing a local race. I think there is actually a very, very, very good chance that this was a targeted political abduction, and that Jose is right in saying this wasn't random, that they grabbed his stepfather as political retaliation. The thing is, though, if that's the case, Richie Torres is a real fool, because this is the Bronx that is contested here. I live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's a very different story. You got Williamsburg, you got Bay Ridge, you got different neighborhoods, but the Bronx is overwhelmingly Black and Latino, and ICE is widely hated in the Bronx. So if Jose was targeted by ICE, right, if they went after his family for political reasons, and it's understood that Richie Torres sent ICE after Jose, that's going to make Jose even more popular. And that's going to look really, really bad on Richie Torres' part. Richie Torres is going to look like a giant asshole because the overwhelming majority of the people who will vote for Richie Torres hate ICE. So if Richie Torres is cooperating with ICE against his political competition, if anything, I mean, I obviously think, the top priority and the top concern of Jose is his family member, is his stepfather. But, but if this is actually the case, and if it can be established that this was, political retaliation, this is going to look really, really bad for Richie Torres. And I think it'll result in Jose exploding in popularity. Honestly, I'm looking at Jose's campaign, right? And again, we don't campaign for anybody in CPI. So we're not involved in the campaign in any way, right? We don't campaign for anybody. And, a couple years ago, he did speak at a CPI event, but we haven't really been in touch, and that's fine. I've defended Jose against some of the slanders of Brian Becker and stuff like that. But for the most part, we don't, they're doing their own thing out in the Bronx. We're not connected to them at this point. We really aren't, the last couple of years, Schiller Institute and Jose's crowd and us, we really haven't really been working together. But that said, I'm looking at this campaign from a distance. It looks to me like Jose could win. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, it looks to me like that he actually could win this race in 2026. I'm seeing, the way things are lining up. I'm seeing, the trends in the city. I think Jose could win. And if it's true that Jose, his family was targeted by ICE, I mean, that would be the stupidest move for Richie Torres. I mean, that'll make Richie Torres look like the biggest asshole in the universe. And on top of that, it'll make Jose look like the underdog, the hero. He's already got the Mamdani energy, the anti-Israel Democrat running against the local Democrat Party machine. I honestly think, this is a wild situation. So if I was Richie Torres, I would probably call up ICE and say, let Jose's stepdad out right now before this blows up in my face. That's what I would do if I was Richie Torres, right? And maybe Richie Torres didn't have anything to do with it. Maybe it wasn't political targeted. And that's why Richie Torres, again, if I was him, if I was Richie Torres, I would call up ICE and I would say, let him out right now before this blows up in my face. Because if it can be insinuated, or if people start to believe that Richie Torres sent ICE after Jose's family, that's going to blow up in Richie Torres' face. Now, Jose did make one more video. He went out to visit his stepfather in the ICE detention facility. This is Jose's video.
Here at Delaney Hall, which is an ICE detention facility, and there's plenty of people here. And I just wanted to make a very quick point, which is that the way in which they treat people here who are trying to come and visit their family members that have been taken away, the dehumanization and just the way in which they abuse people here. The security guard was giving me a lot of attitude, telling me I needed to stop recording, and I had to be pulled aside by some very kind lawyers here who told me otherwise, that I needed to play by the rules here. And they explained to me a whole visitation schedule here, even though on the website it says that you're allowed to visit all day, every day from 7 to 7, Yes, sir? Sorry? Step down? Okay, no problem.
Okay, you're right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm built for this. Thank you.
You built for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go down there, please.
Okay. Very tough guy. Thank you. Sure.
I'm assertive. All right.
What are you?
Assertive.
Assertive.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You had different energy when the camera was off,
Whatever, same
Oh,
energy.
okay. All right. Interesting. I can't just tell people how to come and visit. Anyway, as you can see here, they're not very kind to people who are just trying to get a sense of what's going on. But this is completely abhorrent, how they treat people here.
Yeah, and look, I have said many times that, I'm not with the bulk of the far left on the immigration thing. When they scream, no borders, tear down the borders, open borders now, that's nuts. That's not a real policy. And obviously any country is going to have immigration policy. Even if we let every person into the country who wanted to come in, we would still stamp their passports. We would still, register them coming into the country. So the open borders stuff from the left is nuts. It's just not a real policy. But that said, why the ICE stuff is of concern is because ICE is holding people without charges, without evidence, without due process. A lot of people that are documented citizens that have the right to be in this country have been rounded up by ICE and held in jail. I mean, that's crazy, right? And honestly, I think that the far left, the woke left, by making it, no borders, open borders now, they create space for this to happen, because there's a lot of people who might say, well, you got to enforce immigration law, but at the same time would say you're arresting people that are in this country legally, and you're holding them anyway. Like, that's got to stop. I think most people would agree with that, right? That you can't, but we can't have that conversation. And that's one way that the far left is kind of obscuring things. So I'm glad that Jose is standing up against this, and I hope that his stepfather is released immediately. And, we put an article on our website highlighting what's happened with Jose's case. We're with you, Jose. We're with you. We are 100% with you against this situation that you're dealing. I hope that your stepfather can be released. I know that, we will hear more from you when the time is right. These are kind of legal cases where you got to be careful, right? But that's the article on our website. We didn't really say much because we don't really know much. We just know the situation. So we just know what Jose is putting out there. And Jose is a good guy. And Jose is an anti-imperialist. Jose is with Russia. He's with China. I've known Jose. I've been watching Jose do great work for a long time. So we are 100% behind Jose.